अंग्रेज अपना लगान और न्यूज लॉन्ड्री अपना हफ्ता कभी नहीं छोड़ते. Welcome to another episode of NL Hafta. We are recording this on a Wednesday. We usually record on a Thursday, but tomorrow I'm traveling to Chennai to speak at IIT Madras. Why is it called IIT Madras but the city is called Chennai? Does anyone know?
No, but some institutional names have not been changed, like Madras High
Yeah,
Court.
like the High
Madras
Court
High-
remains Madras
yeah,
High Court. I think it's not.
And I think IIT Bombay also stays
and
IIT Bombay.
also
IIT Bombay,
the
right.
university is also Madras University.
Right.
That's right. It's still Madras.
So I'm going to be at IIT Madras in the city of Chennai. And Manisha will have other commitments. She is going to be hosting a session which we are partnering with the Software Freedom Law Center, that's SFLC. And they're having a series of discussions on the laws that are impacting us all significantly, which have to do with what we publish online. So Manisha is going to be there and I'm going to be in Chennai. So we're recording this today, Wednesday, on the 6th of March at 3 in the afternoon. And before we get into the headlines and I introduce the panel to you, I have an important announcement. Our app issues are kind of resolved, but not entirely resolved. Over the last 2 weeks, some of you have had issues accessing our app. And if you go to our website, you see that there's this little image that comes checking whether you're a human or a robot. Because we have faced an ongoing long DDoS attack, which has carried on for about 3 to 4 weeks, which is a way in which you overwhelm someone's server so that their server gets jammed. We're trying to figure out who is doing this, and there are various procedures that you have to undertake. So until we completely sort this out and this DDoS attack stops, our Hafta and Charcha is going to be outside the paywall. So have fun, make the most of it. But if you can get people to subscribe, please do. And do top up our election fund projects. We have tied up with the News Minute. We did a bunch of stories in the past, which, as you saw, they were read widely. In fact, they were quoted by a few panelists on mainstream media. Of course, no mainstream media picked it up. So that is something that we are doing So we will have ongoing investigations, but we're also covering the elections jointly with the News Minute. So we have an NL Sena project up. So we will have more than 15 reporters, producers and editors, including Manisha, Atul, Dhanya and Sudipto. And your contribution will directly power their work. You can click on the link in the show notes below, or you can head to newslaundry.com/2024-election fund. Better still, just go to newslaundry.com or thenewsminute.com. You'll see the banner there. Click on it and do what needs to be done. On that note, let me introduce the panel to you. Joining us from on Zoom, our viewers and listeners have heard her before, is Radhika Ramaseshan.
Ramaseshan. You're going to Madras, so you get your pronunciation correct.
And also, even more humiliating for me, I'm half Tamil. So for me not to get it right is a disgrace.
Okay. That's a revelation. Okay.
Yeah, my mother is from Tirunelveli. She's a Tamil.
Oh, she's from Tirunelveli. Okay.
Right.
The famous Tirunelveli halwa, I think,
correct.
Right?
Although I must admit, when I ate it, I was like, why is this famous? It is so dense.
It is.
You can't, like the same thing when I went to Mysore and those ragi ball. You cannot, it's like eating a brick. It's so heavy. Same thing with that halwa. It is like...
It's not the most delicious of sweets, actually.
Yeah. So, Radhika is consulting editor with the Business Standard and a columnist writing on politics. She's presently working on a book on UP politics seen through the prism of the state's top leaders since independence. So, how's that going? Radhika, when can we get your book?
The endeavor is to do it as fast as one can. So, hopefully before the next elections.
Right. And joining us in the studio is Raman Kirpal.
Hello.
And Anand Vardhan.
Hello.
Manisha is not joining us today because she's busy working on a script for Nuisance so that she can bring it to you this weekend. And like I said, she will be hosting a session tomorrow at the SFLC event. Before we get into the discussion, which is going to be all about elections, we have the headlines. The State Bank of India on Monday asked the Supreme Court to extend the deadline for submitting details on purchase of electoral bonds to the Election Commission of India to June 30th, calling it a quote-unquote time-consuming exercise. Before we move on, how many people think this is a credible or an accurate or acceptable reasoning for not giving it before the election.
SBI has got a software. If you need anything, any data, you just need to give an application and get it within 5 minutes. So anything like even this, I think 2017 they introduced these bonds. So even the bonds application, I'm sure it must be there in their software, and it will be available just with a click.
No, I don't see how it'll take them so long. Radhika, is that you think this is a credible explanation? You buy it?
This whole business of credibility and neutrality is so skewed in this regime. There are people who will believe, and there are many, many of them who will believe the government's submission. And there are those, some of us, who are questioning. I mean, as Raman rightly said, the data is right there at the click of the keyboard. So what is the problem? I mean, that is the thing, and they've conveniently sought time till June. That's not serendipity or anything. By June, the elections will be over. The government will be sworn in,
Yes.
probably the same regime. We will see that again. So it doesn't matter if they disclose the names of the donors then. It really won't matter to anyone if they come back with a thundering majority, if they come back. I'm not saying they are definitely.
No, that is besides the point. But for this level of brazenness, I mean, anyone can come in power, not come in power. That the brazenness with which one says that, we will, do what we want. That is what I find... it would be interesting to carry out a poll to see how many. What do you think, Anand? Is this correct? I mean, would you buy this reasoning?
The reason, so the reason they have given, what I read in the newspapers, is that they have to match the contribution with donors, and the verification process may take time. That is their official position in newspaper, as what the newspapers have reported. I think the court will buy this argument because I think it is a financial institution, but generally if the law enforcing agencies also, when they seek time, courts generally oblige. So it is... I would, in absence of anything, any further information, I will fence it on it.
So, I'll give you some additional information. As per the Mumbai branch of SBI's affidavit, they have in a sealed cover 22,270 bonds. They have donor names and redemption details of electoral bonds are both available in SBI's Mumbai branch in a sealed cover as per their affidavit to the Supreme Court. That it is there, sealed cover mein tha. Now, are they saying that in an affidavit they gave it, so that time they're not sure? They submitted something and they need 4 months to check something that they've already given an affidavit for. I mean, who would believe
And
that?
if no,
I think that affidavit was for all contributions.
Correct.
No, and after
Electoral bonds.
After that, 4 months have passed.
Yeah, but so okay, let's say they can't give these for. What stops them from giving those?
No,
I mean that's with them, right?
See,
It's only an additional 4 months that they'll need. They already have this, so they can make this public. Suppose I have my IT details from 2012 to 2020, and the government says give it to you from 2012 to 2024. I'll say I don't have these 4 years, but I can give you the last 10 years, no?
see,
So if you don't want to give, I think it's clear they don't want to give.
Yeah, that's...
I mean,
they
when you have this,
they don't want to give.
Are they lying in this affidavit? In which case, they should be taken to
They
task.
don't want to give it before the elections are over. It's very clear.
Basically.
I have seen, the banks, SEBI, and banks, interacting with Ministry of Finance and income tax authorities, when they have to give any information to Ministry of Finance. You have finance, FIU, financial, intelligence unit over there. You have revenue. So I have seen, in fact, I have seen those data personally. They are made available within a day. There's no difficulty. In this particular case, 16,000 crore rupees have come in the past 5 or 7 years, through the bonds. And 92% of them have come, by 1 crore each.
Unless,
This thing donation being made. So I think, all this is stored in a computer. What do they have to do? And they have the entire app for this particular thing.
So I'll just read out from the affidavit that they submitted. I quote, "It has submitted that donor details were kept in a sealed cover at the designated branches, and all such sealed covers were deposited in the main branch of the applicant bank, which is located in Mumbai. At the time of redemption, the original bond, the pay and slip would be stored in a sealed cover and sent to SBI Mumbai branch." Again, unquote. I quote again. 22,217 electoral bonds were used for making donations to various political parties. Unquote. Quote, "Coupled with the fact that the two different information silos existed, that would mean a total of 44,434 information sets would have to be decoded, compiled and compared." Unquote. So this is all there in the sealed covers. So they don't have to, I don't know.
Also, when institutions buy time, or even when, say, if CBI buys time or ED buys time, what is the argument they give? That they are overburdened.
Right.
So if we go by this information, they will say we have other work also. We have other, means that is how the arguments go in court.
Yeah.
And this is not our only job. They will say this thing. Means I am.
We are aware.
I am foreseeing the line of argument that they will take in the court.
I'm just surprised that the court will accept this.
Yes, it's not a prophecy that it will accept it. It may reject it. I'm not giving a prediction, but I am just going by probabilities. What has been the track record of the court?
Yeah, but I think it's unfortunate that something that impacts stuff at the macro level, a court would take leniently, whereas stuff on a micro level, like for example, when we were raided, the IT notice that had come had given me till I think 5 o'clock on the 3rd or something. 5 p.m. on the 3rd, I had to submit whatever had to be submitted. On
30.
the same date, at 3:30 they raided me. I was like, I still have 1.5 hours to get back to you. No. I mean, it's not like the court told them that you can't do this. What I'm saying is, what is the court there for? I mean, the pillar is there to protect the citizen against the government, no? Not to protect the government.
Why these bonds have been, why this judgment has come? Obviously, because with the transparency. So if it is not made transparent before the 2024 election,
then there's no point.
What is the
defeats
point?
the purpose.
No, exactly. It doesn't serve any purpose. In June, it's all, whoever wins will be on a high, and it doesn't really, people are not going to pay attention, I think, basically, to this.
Anyway, so let's see what happens on that. We should have a separate hafta on that. Then, in other headlines, the Nagpur bench of the Bombay High Court on Tuesday acquitted former Delhi University Professor G. N. Sababa and 5 others accused in an alleged Maoist links case. Sababa, who's 54 and is wheelchair bound and is 99% disabled, he is in Nagpur jail. Although the Maharashtra government has appealed this, but he was acquitted in 2022 as well.
Right.
And he's spent 11 years in prison, for which now he's...
Imagine.
Is there a provision for him to sue the government? Is there any such provision?
No. Instead of it, Maharashtra High Court has gone to Supreme Court.
Yeah. No, Maharashtra government.
High Court, no. The state government asked the High Court first to stay this thing is, release. So High Court refused. The High Court said you should go to the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Is there any provision in law where he can sue the state?
10 days without any...
Means... He can sue, but he can certainly ask for defamation. But I think the state has not given up.
Yeah, of course, they won't. But at some stage, he can also...
This man has lost his job also. The EU has terminated him.
Meanwhile, a 7-judge constitutional bench of the Supreme Court, headed by Chief Justice D.Y. Chandrachud on Monday, held that bribery is not protected by the parliamentary privilege, as it struck down a 25-year-old verdict granting immunity to MPs and MLAs who take bribes to cast their votes or deliver speeches in the House. The context of this is basically the famous JMM case during P.V. Narasimha Rao's time. There were 3 MPs, right?
3.
Yeah.
There were
3.
Their vote saved the Narasimha Rao government. Later on, it was proved that they had actually taken a bribe, but because the voting process happens on the floor of the House, and the floor of the House is has parliamentary privilege or, at an assembly privilege, the court jurisdiction doesn't apply there. Therefore, they could not be prosecuted or punished for that. The Supreme Court has said no, even if you're voting on parliament or you're making a speech, but if it's done through bribery, you can be prosecuted, which is actually a...
P.V. Narasimha Rao, I think, was imprisoned in this.
He was found guilty, but...
He was never imprisoned.
He wasn't in prison.
Raman.
He was found
I don't
guilty,
think.
but...
He was
No,
never.
yeah, you're right. He was... But the
Yeah, it came close to it, but he didn't actually
But
go
the
to
He
it.
wasn't convicted.
I think he
was convicted.
She was but not imprisoned. But
Not in
it is
He was
these
not
guys could not
imprisoned.
be.
So even Ajit Singh was accused in this case.
Ajit Singh was right in the JMM
okay,
case,
yes,
right.
In fact, today Singhvi has made a
Actually, the review which has taken under Article 137, read with Article 145, it also came from a case in Jharkhand only. Sheeta Soren, who is the sister-in-law of the jailed former CM Hemant Soren. She took bribe, allegedly she took bribe for voting for a Rajya Sabha candidate, but she said that she quoted this case, parliamentary privilege, and she also said that I have not voted for it. For him, I voted for my party's candidate. The curious thing is this, that is most curious thing is this: if you take bribe under the previous law, not the struck down law, so if you take bribe and you vote for it, then you are protected. But if you take bribe and you don't vote for it or abstain, then you are not protected, because you are then not expressing. You are not. You are choosing not to express. So the philosophical foundation of the right is that the parliamentarians should be free to express without fear and favor, so this privilege. So if you are not exercising that freedom, you are not protected. So even in the JM bribery case, people who abstained were not protected. So that is a very important part of it. And it is.
It also applies to asking questions, right?
Yes, and making speeches. If you take bribe and make a speech.
making speeches. So you have the immediate context of Mahua Mitra, I guess. I mean, in fact, a connection is being drawn with the insinuation that she may have taken.
But I think that whole the trigger or the incentive or the stimulus for making a speech and tying it to a bribe is always going to be a tenuous one to prove in court.
It is going to be very difficult, but questions would probably be easier because,
questions would be simpler.
What the Supreme Court has said is that the privileges were based on the British practice, because British Parliament won it against the monarchy. So it was, but in India, the constitutional ideals will be the barometer to measure it, and that is the probity principle, and they have applied the necessity doctrine to say that you would be allowed privilege till it is needed for your proper functioning as a parliamentarian or legislator in the state assembly. So necessity principle, it would not be say blank check that you can do anything. Also they have made a distinction between legislative functioning as a body and individual members.
And maybe someone should test this, since we have got one such ruling, that what if you lie to the country in parliament? Like, for example, if I lie in court, I can be, what's it called? Perjury. Right. Now, Mr. Shah payloads such bullshit from parliament. Is that protected because they're saying in parliament? Or can I sue them saying that you have misled?
Cannot lie in parliament.
You have, no, but
there is something.
There is data on that. In fact, that one speech of Mr. Amit Shah regarding, he had given the numbers of, I'll just search for it. It was incorrect data, but
I think what they say, there is a parliamentary procedure for this also. Say bribery, but lying is not a criminal action. means what they are saying, that bribery for ordinary person is a criminal act. So is it for you. So you are under the ordinary law of the land. But say somebody lies under the oath of the constitution. Okay, many MLAs, MPs lie, but to make it a criminal action for parliamentarians speaking within parliament, like in British parliament also, if somebody has to suggest that the prime minister has lied, they don't say that it's a lie. They say that he has been economical with the facts. They don't say they mean that he has lied, but they put it like
but that's
this.
just that's
this is
just semantics.
the phrase that is used here is misleading parliament or the legislature. That is what is called into question every time the opposition thinks that a certain person from the ruling party has given incorrect information, falsified information, or deliberately hidden the truth. So you are accused of misleading parliament. But as he said, it's not a criminal act. I mean, one way out is to apologize, is to admit that, yes, I have done this, and apologize and find a way out. More often than not, everything gets, in the din and noise that follows such an accusation, everything is brushed aside and eventually forgotten.
One thing that he said was that the new penal code that's coming, that punishment for mob lynching, hate speech, zero FIR, EFIR has newly been added to a bill because it wasn't there earlier in it was there in the earlier this thing also. It was completely, it was just outright fake. That was false. And he said it on the floor of the House, introducing us to 3 new bills. So that is just one. There were 3 for others also. We'll put links in the show notes below. Then, in other news, the BJP on Saturday released its first list of 195 candidates from 16 states and 2 union territories for the 2024 Lok Sabha polls. As it gets closer, more and more excitement happening. PM Modi will contest again from Banaras or Varanasi. Home Minister Amit Shah will contest from Gandhinagar in Gujarat. The party has fielded Bansuri Swaraj, at Sushma Swaraj's daughter, from New Delhi, and Meenakshi Lekhi is out.
And Ramesh Biduri is also out.
He's also out. And Shivraj Singh Chauhan is contesting from Vidisha. So he has been rewarded, I'm guessing.
I would say compensated, after the humiliation.
Correct. Yes, rewarded would be an overstatement.
He delivered an epic victory. I mean, whether he played the lead role or it was because of Modi, we can debate endlessly. The point is that as the chief minister, he led the campaign in the state. His programs for women were highly praised, and a lot of women voted substantially for the BJP on that count. So, and then not to make him the chief minister did trigger a lot of debate, a lot of controversy. Of course, in this day and age, nobody from the BJP is prepared to come on record and talk. But I think it did lead to, I wouldn't say discontent, but it did perplex a lot of people as to why Shivraj Singh Chauhan was dropped when he should have got another term. So this is compensation. And I'll also quickly tell you one thing, Abhinandan. These 195 seats were given on the basis of a very methodical and sustained feedback that the leadership has been doing for the last 5 years from the constituencies. They are very dedicated about that, getting the feedback from the karyakartas, from the voters, from all and sundry who matter in a particular constituency. And in Vidisha, I believe the feedback was that women voters wanted Shivraj Singh Chauhan, cutting across caste and class. So that may have been an important consideration. Sushma Swaraj, it was Sushma Swaraj's constituency, incidentally, and she always won with a good margin from Vidisha.
Other than when they made her contest from Bellary and she was rather upset.
That was,
She said, I will do this against Sonia Gandhi. She was clearly, she didn't hide her disappointment. She says the party is, I'm a loyal soldier of the party, but she was clearly not happy contesting from Bellary back then. But NDTV has reported, and you may be the best person to tell us as to the dependability or not dependability of this Radhika, that Rahul Gandhi will contest from Amethi as well, other than Wayanad. And Priyanka will contest from Raebareli. Is that confirmed, or is NDTV payloading?
It's all in the realm of speculation even now. I mean, Rahul might want to have a shot again from Amethi. I won't be surprised if he contests from two places, so that if he loses and gains one, keeps one out. For instance, where Annie Raja is not pulling out. The indications are that the CPI's Annie Raja is determined to contest. She's in fact started working in Wayanad. Amethi is, going to be prove as tough for Rahul Gandhi as it did in 2019 and to an extent in 2014 as well. I thought it was very close, even in 2014, because Smriti Irani has been nursing the constituency very assiduously. She's been visiting, and recently, of course, she did that Graha Pravesh of a house that she's built in Amethi, because what is the charge that you hear in Amethi and Raebareli against the Gandhis?
That they're never there.
Mausam Pakshi, seasonal birds. They come, picnic manane aate hain. They do have a house somewhere on the outskirts of Amethi, but picnic manane aate hain, apne baal bachon ke saath, etc., etc. So whereas I think Smriti has been visiting and of course sometimes creating controversies, and in any constituency you're going to have voters who are unhappy with the elected member, some who are all right, who are okay with the elected member. But it's not going to be easy for Rahul to regain Amethi as far as I can see. And Raebareli is the other constituency you mentioned. Now, last time the BJP candidate, who is a lawyer, was very unhappy with the party for not investing enough in Raebareli. They said, even if they had put in 15% of the effort, 10-15% of the effort that they put in Amethi, we might have won. And if you notice the margin from the Election Commission data in Raebareli, the winning margin had declined for Sonia Gandhi as well. So Raebareli again could be a tough call for Priyanka Gandhi. The indications are that the BJP might field a defector from the Samajwadi Party, Manoj Pandey, who has a network in that area. I mean, he was elected from Ayodhya, I think, or sometime in the past. So he's basically from that region. That's a Brahmin-heavy constituency. So normally in the case of the Gandhis, caste doesn't really come into play. They usually get the votes from every caste. I don't know what is going to happen this time, but it is going to be very tough.
20 years ago, Radhika, I had gone to Raebareli and Priyanka was visiting that place. And at that time, I think Satish Sharma had contested, and 2004 I think Sonia Gandhi came back and she contested from Raebareli. And Priyanka Gandhi, at that time I was pretty impressed. She knew these Congress workers, by the first name. I went to her around 10 places she went to on a single day, various villages, very very small gatherings where she's talking to these people. So she is very 20 years ago, she was very well versed with, the Congress workers. I don't know what the situation is.
But they haven't, Varun and Menka ka bhi, we don't know yet, right?
No, they haven't announced for Sultanpur and Pilibhit yet.
Okay. We'll discuss it in a little more detail once I'm done with the headlines. You want to add anything to this for now? Okay. So then, hours after tendering his resignation on Tuesday, former Calcutta High Court Judge Abhijit Gangopadhyay announced his decision to join the BJP, and he said he's committed to fighting corrupt Trinamool Congress, and also he is the one who transferred a bunch of cases to the CBI, right? That was done by him only, this judge.
Right. The teachers' recruitment scam, Raman?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like I was talking, the brazenness. Now it just doesn't matter. Do what you want.
Cooling period. Do they have cooling period?
No. One of the most famous judges of Supreme Court was once an MLA from CPI MLA, Justice Krishna Iyer. And also in 67 there was Judge Shubba Rao, who became an MP, who contested on Congress ticket.
No. I think there have been several judges who have contested. I think I don't know of any judge who has quit, who has resigned as judge and joined the party.
Yeah, to which I think Arun Jaitley once famously said that there should be a cooling off period of a year. I mean, he emphasized on that, and that very thing is being violated by the BJP. I mean, you have the classic case of Justice Ranjan Gogoi.
No, also if what this justice is saying is true, that I also approached him, they also approached me. So they approached him like in the few hours that he resigned and to make the statement, or they had approached him when he was sitting judge.
They must be,
What
they
does that
want
mean?
him to contest from some constituency.
No, what I'm saying is if he's a
Yeah,
sitting
they
judge,
must have.
if you're a sitting judge, I mean, I'm sure that's some sort of a breach if you do that, no?
Yeah, exactly.
is.
Before he demitted judgeship.
I mean, if I go to a sitting judge and say, will you become a director in my company? I'm sure I can be hauled up for that.
But nothing surprises you these days.
Then the president has withheld the assent for 4 bills passed by the State Legislative Assembly, including one envisaged to divest the governor from position of Chancellor of Universities in Kerala. The bills withheld are Kerala University Laws Amendment Number 2 Bill, University Law Amendment Bill 2022, the University Law Amendment Bill 2021, and the Kerala Cooperative Societies Amendment Bill. So, when the governors get too much to handle, then the president holds up bills. This is how this country is being run by the centre. Great. And we should all bajao tali and say, Sab changa si. Then the Indian Embassy in Israel has issued an advisory for Indian nationals working in Israel, especially in border areas, to relocate to safe areas within the country. In fact, this comes after a young man from Kerala died in shelling. So that was kind of sad. Then the Supreme Court on Tuesday quashed a 2018 money laundering case against Karnataka Deputy Chief Minister D K Shivkumar. The ED had registered the case against him based on a complaint filed by the IT department. He was accused of evading tax and being involved in alleged Hawala transactions worth crores of rupees. I wonder what is the IT and ED's success rate? Would it even be single digits or not even? Be fractions?
In fact, Express did a series.
Yeah, I remember that. But that was just
it
ED.
Was very less.
That was just ED, not
that
IT.
That was just ED. IT, though, you will never know. IT is mostly civilian. They're not criminal. So, like we did this political funding story, that was the toughest thing to find out what happened to those cases.
Right, and there's no way
they solve among themselves. If they go to the court, they have out of court settlement. So we just don't come to know about it. And even through RTI, we are not given information.
What was the news item with this one? What was the news?
The Shivkumar, Karnataka Deputy Chief Minister, there was a case that had been filed against him for money laundering. So
he was in jail also, wasn't it?
He was in jail, yes.
The Supreme Court has quashed the case.
He should also file.
He's too busy firefighting for the Congress in Himachal and wherever it's in trouble.
Right.
They don't have firefighters.
I think for politicians, it's par for course. But for someone who's like a professor, who's a regular bloke, you've destroyed the guy's life,
and you
owe him. I mean, there's this fantastic podcast I had once suggested where in the US, these 3 black men who were tortured and they were taken into custody, they were falsely implicated in the case. They sued the state of Texas or wherever this happened, got $6.8 million in return because they destroyed the lives. I mean, what I'm saying is here, if I were to go against a Yogi's regime, if I'm someone whose house has been demolished, illegally because court to bolte rehte, you cannot do this without due process, aap to shor macha ke kuch hota to hai nahi. If you'd actually sue them, they should have to just like they're saying you compensate the state should compensate you, right?
No, in cases like Sababa, the argument and the evidence as cited by the investigating agency is that they found a book on Marx.
Yeah, I remember that.
So those kind of evidences, I mean, imagine.
Come upstairs, there are 3 books on Savarkar and 2 on Modi lying. So I'm probably a Hindutva writing. No, but shouldn't there be
in Sai Baba's case, that was, I think, not the only evidence, but the evidence was inadequate.
Not the only, but
it is.
It was one of them.
They had listed that.
It has not been established beyond reasonable doubt.
Yes.
So no, but should not like, for example, they're saying that on video, if we catch anyone protesting, you will be asked to compensate the state for whatever damage you've done. Now, if you cause someone's financial or economic damage by your actions, the state should also have to pay. How can it only be one way?
Yeah.
But why we have enough people who will side with the state, which is what that whole debate we had last Hafta. We as a community, Indians, we have no value for individual rights or individuals. We are servile. We will side with the state no matter what. But it will be hard for anyone to find a majority siding with an individual's rights. It's just culturally it doesn't come with us. Like, if we believe this guy is born to rule, he is born to rule. A Scindia will side with the British, he will rule. He'll side with the Congress, he will rule. He'll side with the BJP. In any other society, you'd abandon the guy, yeah? You do kitna paltoge tum? But yahan par everyone will, that authority figure, whether it is a mutt, whether it is a whatever, it is a dera, whether it is a whatever seminary of the Tababe Olima, whatever the hell it is, or anything, you will side with the collective authority figure.
Yeah,
there is zero respect for individual rights in our country.
If you want to protest, they don't let you protest. Okay. They come up with
Jantar Mantar is out of bounds. Right?
They come up with the heavy government machinery. If the 4 Kabadiyas, some Kabadiya session is going on, 4 Kabadiyas are walking on the national highway, they close
the whole
100 kilometer long highway.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
100 kilometer long. This can happen only in our country.
This wasn't always so. I think after the emergency, there was a spell when civil rights movements were very vibrant, the country over. You had organizations like the PUCL, PUDR, CPDR, and other organizations standing up for human rights and actually coming out on the streets, protesting. Of course, some went to jail and the rest of it. But it was in the aftermath of the emergency.
Yeah, but even in the late 2000s, I myself have organized a rock concert, Euphoria, Palash Sen came. I organized that on RTI. Aruna came, Nikhil Day was there, Arvind was there. Dude, we set up a stage, we got audio equipment, the whole Euphoria band came and they sang about freedom and independence. Can you imagine doing that today?
No.
Bloody Euphoria would be in jail. All their songs would be pulled down from YouTube. We'd all be anti-national elements.
I think the last big protest we saw was Anna Hazare's, and also the one following the Nirbhaya rape.
Yeah,
but that suited the BJP, so they organized. They came out in huge numbers, galvanized the crowds for.
Then several senior BJP leaders on Monday took to Twitter, which is now called X, and added Modi K Parivar in the social media handle usernames. In fact, other than BJP leaders, some others have also done it. This was basically Lalu Yadav said that he has no family, and he said he's not a full Hindu. I don't know what his reasoning was.
His argument was also stupid.
What was his argument?
That if you gave a handle to BJP.
No, but what was
he
the
didn't shave his...
If you don't get married, you're not a true Hindu. All Hindus have to get married.
No, that didn't have to do with marriage.
When his mother passed away, he should have shaved his head. He didn't shave his head, so he's not a Hindu.
Means in Hindi heartland, in UP, Bihar, it is very common. People shave her. But it's not here in Haryana.
Punjab, etc. It's not.
We don't have it in the south, I know. Definitely don't.
But in Bihar, from where Lalu spoke, it is considered very, disrespectful if you don't shave off your head when your parents pass.
I see. So basically now, that is, he says, Mera Parivar 140 crore family. So he's the king of rhetoric. Then another headline, Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal Monday told the Enforcement Directorate he would be willing to answer the probe agency's questions in connection with the liquor license policy after March 12 via video conferencing. In response, the ED has said that there is no provision for questioning via video conferencing. So this little cat and mouse game is continuing and continuing and continuing. And finally,
I think if the Jharkhand, a court in Jharkhand has yesterday I think given a kind of judicial rebuke to Hemant Soren for not appearing. He also appeared in 7th or 8th time. So that has been a shot in arm for the ED. And also Supreme Court last week said that states have to cooperate with ED in a hearing. in the extreme, you will be penalized under, say, Section 174 of IPC if you don't comply with an order. So,
and do they have to tell you they are questioning you as a witness, as an accused, or they don't have to tell you anything?
You have to come if the summon is there. That's all.
Now the summon doesn't have to say that they want you as an accused.
No, they are saying we have to ask questions.
But they don't have. They are not bound to tell you. Are you an accused or are you a witness? They don't have to tell you that.
In related to this kind of case, in case of Soren had filed an FIR in his state against 4 media groups. Saying that these the ED had given them prior information, and these 4 media groups, they were campaigning against me. So the summons were issued to these 4 media groups.
Yeah.
And the
for journalists,
Jharkhand police
has summoned them.
They had summoned them. So they said we cannot come to Jharkhand. So now the Jharkhand police is coming to question them, to Delhi.
Right. Then award-winning Kashmiri journalist Asif Sultan was arrested last week in connection with the case filed under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, UAPA. And this 2 days after he was released from 5-year detention.
5 years of, he was given bail, or he was acquitted 70 days before he was released from the jail. Okay, it took 70 days
for that
to
order
implement
to be complied with.
To comply with the court order. And after the moment he landed in Kashmir, he was arrested again.
And then finally, China signed a defense cooperation agreement with the Maldives on Monday that will provide the island nation with free military assistance. The development comes near a month after Maldives government had said that India had agreed to withdraw its military personnel from the island nation by May 10 and replace the aviation management staff with civilians. Right, now those were the headlines. Let's just get into the election buzz. I'd like the panel to give an idea on all the lists that have been released. Since of course we can't discuss all the over 100 names that have been released, what are the noteworthy ones or interesting things that so far from the lists that have been released do we get? Like Pragya Thakur has been dropped, and in fact after she's been dropped, she's filed some, but she's complained against some BJP functionary in MP, so against an MLA. So she is clearly resentful of having dropped. But I have to give it to this Prime Minister. You can be the strongest of strongmen, but you always lead your campaign as a victim. Like this Parivar, main neech, main chai wala, main ye, main wo. That whole thing that he positions himself that, oh, see, poor me, everyone's mean to me. His persona is that of a strongman, but his campaign is always that of the victim.
But
I find it fascinating. See, lots of people have pulled this off for one term. But to go back with the same psychology for the 3rd time, I think you need a remarkable level of charisma to pull that off. That you have done injustices by the kilo, but you are still the victim and people buy it. I think that's fascinating. I think it's a study in human psychology.
Yeah, absolutely. It started with this Maut ka Saudagar in one of the Gujarat elections, I think 2007. Sonia made that remark. She called him Maut ka Saudagar, which of course she retracted later. And that was the first time when Mr. Modi played the victim card, as you said. And you're right, he recycles it in election after election after election. And manages to pull it off. I mean, you took the instance of the chaiwala, Chaukidar Chor hai, and now you have Modi Ka Parivar.
Right.
It will work again, probably. Here is this singleton, he doesn't have a family, and his own nucleus family, he keeps them at a distance, doesn't allow his brothers to come anywhere close to him, doesn't do any favors to the family. And so who is he going to make money for? On the other hand, you have all these dynasts. On the other side, every regional party is headed by a legatee or somebody who's an inheritor. So they are out there to make money for their large families.
Of course, having the media on your side helped, because I was watching an English, this Network 18. Network 18 is not running news, it's just running 24/7, a campaign. That's all they're doing.
TV9.
All of them. Raman, can you point out one instance where a particular mainstream channel has deviated and said something, which can cause somebody to sit up and say, wow, I mean, they're actually saying something different. No, I mean, all of them follow a particular line, and this Modi Ka Parivar is a theme that they've latched on to.
Any names in Bihar that are remarkable, surprising,
they
or
have
unsurprising?
They have
Nothing
not,
yet, right? So,
they haven't announced.
I'm a little intrigued as to Biduri being dropped, because he was put on that. I mean, he's done his bit by being bigoted, which clearly is rewarded in the BJP with the kind of things he says. But he was also put on that state election committee, right? For which
Tonk.
So why has he? I mean, unless he's being compensated elsewhere, like I mean, Meenakshi Lekhi, yes, one keeps hearing that she's not exactly in the best books of. But I'm surprised about Biduri. Anyone has any?
I think he was unpopular, becoming unpopular because of his behavior
In his constituency.
In constituency and with his own people. I mean, I have some friends in Lok Sabha administration, so they used to feel, they were very surprised because the way he used to abuse in open, even in parliament. So they have given me his stories. So the man is so brazen. I mean, what he said on the floor of the house is unpardonable. Unpardonable. So
Danish Ali.
Yeah, and the guy who is replacing him, I know him personally because when I was a reporter and covering Delhi politics, he was part of the Delhi politics, Ramveer Singh Biduri. Now he is quite hardworking. He has won elections as MLAs. And he has risen from the, this thing, corporate level.
Even AAP has announced their list for Delhi.
Yeah.
That Somnath Bharti, who's contesting, he's very popular as an MLA from his constituency, but of course, MP is a different kettle of fish.
New Delhi, right? Somnath Bharti will be against Basuri Swaraj.
So he'll be against Basuri Swaraj.
Yes.
So what do you make of the Delhi lists? And, going by the vote percentage last time, I think in at least more than 3 seats, BJP got more than 50% vote share, right? So even
absolutely, yeah.
So you think that it's going to make a difference right now with the Congress AAP coming together, or
as far as the minority votes are concerned, I think they will avoid a complete split. But is that enough to see the Congress AAP through? I don't know. I think in a city like Delhi, the BJP would definitely have an advantage, and given the huge percentage that they polled last time, it's going to be difficult for this alliance to bridge the gap, unless the tide turns completely against the BJP, which I don't see it happening at all. At the end of the day, it will be Modi, whether it is Basuri Swaraj or Biduri or somebody else, they're going to ride on the back of Modi's charisma, Modi's oratory, and win their seats. But that is the thing in Delhi. As far as, if you look at the big picture, as far as the contests are keenly contested states are concerned, I would definitely say Bihar is not 100% surefire win for the NDA. Bengal will see a contest against the South, Maharashtra against the southern states, barring Karnataka, of course. But Delhi, I still feel I think it's advantage BJP.
What about Karnataka? I mean, the win of the Congress was pretty remarkable, and it was overwhelming. The assembly.
It was quite spectacular. But, I don't know to what extent Siddaramaiah has worked on the ground, or whether his guarantees have been successful, and what people think of those. But last time as well, I think BJP didn't have its government, but when it came to the to parliament elections, they got 25 out of 28 seats in Karnataka. So again, we have to see to what extent the Modi charisma works in Karnataka. I mean, you don't see it having much of an impact in Tamil Nadu, but Karnataka may be a
Tamil
different
Nadu, Kerala, Telangana. I mean, they plan for 15, 20 years from now. Now this BJP has little or no presence, but. You think any names or lists that have been announced right now are clear indicators? I'd be surprised if any of Menaka or Varun get a ticket. I think they have been more than vocal with their disconnect with the party's ethos or whatever the overtly
Hindu. So much vocal. But yes, they're very quiet.
No, I think by BJP's standard,
Varun?
Varun used to tweet often, sir. He would
Varun used
often
to
tweet about someone having said something.
write pieces
I
against.
think Varun, I'll be shocked if he gets a ticket. I mean,
Yeah.
So I think those two are kind of clear. I doubt they will get. But other than that, I mean, it would be interesting to see who gets rewarded, who doesn't. Jai Shankar would be interesting to see where he contests from. He will be contesting, I'm guessing.
But I think Radhika can put some light on this 51 candidates in UP. See, whatever we say about Modi's charisma or his campaign, but he's so methodical about choosing the candidates, apart from his charisma. So 51 names have been announced in UP. And say if both Gandhis contest from UP, so what kind of picture, how do you see UP election this time?
I don't see the Gandhis making a big difference to the overall picture. Maybe there may be a fight in Amethi and Raebareli if they choose to contest from those seats. However, I think one has to look at the Samajwadi Party. It continues to remain the main opponent of the BJP. The Samajwadi Party has also announced. It came up with a list before the BJP. Everybody's talking about BJP being quick off the mark, but Samajwadi Party had announced its candidates before the BJP did. So the point is that on the ground, the Samajwadi remains the main opponent. Now, how Akhilesh is going to deal, because he's lost Jayant Chaudhary, RLD, he's lost Om Prakash Rajbhar, 6 or 7 MLAs from his party have defected to the BJP. Some of them are going to get tickets. So he only has a very weak Congress as his ally. And Abhinandan, there is some talk about bringing the BSP as well into this fold. I mean, it is purely in the realm of speculation, but there is, which means that probably somebody in the Congress is making an effort to reach out to Mayawati. Mayawati may look down and out, but Mayawati still has a vote bank everywhere. There is a committed Jata vote which doesn't really move from Mayawati.
I think she has the most loyal base.
She has a loyal base. Now, will that make a difference? Let's not forget in 2019, the SP, BSP and RLD had an alliance and they couldn't really take on the BJP. So I still feel with Yogi in UP and with Modi here at the center, it is still a fairly unbeatable combine that you are looking at in Uttar Pradesh. And of course, BJP has worked out its caste equations and the rest of it very well. Probably felt a bit shaky in West UP, which has always been their bastion. That is why it got Jayant Chaudhary on board and fortified its flanks, so to speak. But I don't see UP as the state which is going to pose a great challenge to the BJP.
What do you make, Anand, of the lists that have been brought out yet with Sushma Swaraj's daughter? I think that is a acknowledgement of Sushma ji, who was kind of sidelined while she was alive.
I don't think it is an acknowledgement of that. I think 81 perhaps MPs have been sitting MPs have been replaced out of 195. So that's a fairly high percentage. And though data, the cephalogist data till 2019 for assembly elections as well as MPs is that 51% of sitting MPs win in the Lok Sabha polls. That is Parnoy and Doris Sorapal book, The Verdict. They have this data there. But BJP has gone against that grain because I think one is the internal survey. Second, the most of the I would not say most, but a sizable chunk of the names that they have announced are on their weak seats now, and that's they are trying to give more time to seats in which they think that they are weak to for candidates to consolidate their campaign, and the stronger seats they will bring the second list. So that is again. Third is that their policy of bringing new faces is to infuse the organizational energy and make every BJP worker believe that they will have their moment under the sun. And that is how a strong leadership, say a duopoly headed by Mr. Modi and Shah, can draw their organizational energy that you will have your seat. Nobody is very much privileged here except we two, and everyone will have. So a kind of say the hierarchical structure, the second layer being chopped off. There is no second, third, fourth layer. Everyone has a chance. So that of course the conventional logic is that for beating the anti-incumbency of the parliamentarians, you
Change
bring
them,
that, and that all parties do. BJP also does that, but that is also, and of course there is that accommodating all sections. And now I am coming to 2-3 more points that came up in discussion. One thing is that Mr. Modi in his campaign playing this card or that. I think somebody 2-3 years ago made an interesting observation, and that is to an extent not wholly but true about BJP's current philosophy, not philosophy, but its place in the current Indian politics ideologically, that it's a right of center force, but it is a byword for change. So what is generally conservative parties should be a force of conservation, but it's a byword of change. That this is the paradigm shift so Congress was this system, this paradigm of privilege and Parivar or even regional parties, and the paradigm shift, even if we are in party in government, we are the opposition party actually. So this party plays in the mindset as an opposition party because we are bringing change. We are facing a lot of obstructions from the old the political class of the
ecosystem. I mean, the same language of right-wing trolls. The ecosystem is at work. The ecosystem is doing this.
So political class of the old privilege. So that is one thing that he also because on social media you have this that someone said this against Modi. Now in campaigns, he brings that virtual world to a direct conversation. He will not miss that. If you give him a, say, brownie point, that he has been called some, like Mani Shankarayya, niche or something, he as a smart politician, he will not miss that. He will take that to virtual world conversation from the cyberspace to the actual election campaign. So that is one thing. Third is about this news chemistry Mayawati thing that came up in discussion. One major failure of this late adjustment is that, and also that the lower level worker chemistry doesn't work. Like workers don't coordinate. So it's a more of a top-down approach that yes, we have now allied, but workers are not in sync with that. Workers are working at cross purposes. So
absolutely.
So they don't find this chemistry very instant, like yes.
Yeah, in fact, and then I wanted to mention that with regard to the Congress-SP alliance, SP always finds it difficult to transfer its votes to an ally. I saw it in the Ghazipur region in East UP last time. I mean, the Yadavs were very listless about working for the BSP. The SP had an alliance with BSP. And they even said that they were looking to vote for the BJP. And I suspect that's what a majority of them must have done wherever the BSP candidate was fighting on what they thought was rightfully an SPC. So I think even this, though some people got gung-ho about the Congress-SP alliance, I think ultimately the SP will find it very difficult to transfer its votes to the Congress. The Congress has a very small percentage of upper caste votes still left. I don't see the upper caste voting at all for the SP. I mean, it's a very small percentage. So the only direct advantage that they have is that the Muslim votes won't split like they used to in the past. And if Mayawati doesn't become part of the alliance, one can trust Mayawati to field a maximum number of Muslim candidates in order to split this so-called secular alliance's votes. So that is the state of the opposition in Uttar Pradesh.
What do you think, sir?
No, I find Mayawati, I still don't believe. And in case even if she joins India alliance, I think she will be a mole for the BJP. because going by,
in the last few years since Modi's rise, she's been very muted.
My friends also who are very senior police officers, I've said it earlier also, they have told that she has already been told the jail where she is going to be lost, in case
she falls out of line.
She goes out of BJP camp. And if you see the past 3-4 years, she is only complimenting BJP in some way or the other. So I.
But in all fairness, so is Asaduddin Owaisi. I mean, he always...
Yes.
Yeah, he's already working in the Simanchal region of Bihar. I mean, that's where he picked up 5 seats in the last assembly elections in Bihar and considerably damaged the RJD Congress's prospects. So that's the region, one of the regions he's looking at. Of course, UP, he will be tempted to field candidates in UP, especially in the Rohilkhand belt, which has a large Muslim population.
So, since we've already gone over an hour, before we wind up, this case of Bengal being this major conflict point of Sheikh Shahjahan now, the CBI team wants him handed over. I think the Bengal police is not handing him over, although there's a court order. I'll just check what the latest on this is. Yeah, so the deadline was today, 4:15, that they had to hand him over to the CBI.
So they are moving Supreme Court, the West Bengal court.
So I'm just wondering, is this conflict of Sheikh Shahjahan between Mamata and BJP going to be electorally very significant in Bengal, or it's just something to put Mamata on the back foot for now, with that judge also kind of playing footsie with the BJP? But will it have an impact on Lok Sabha? Is this because this guy doesn't seem such a big leader state-wise, right? I mean, they could sacrifice him. I mean, why have this stuck by him
it's
so
not
much?
About the gentleman himself. It's about that whole Sandeshkhali incident and women. Whether they are put up by the BJP or not, I don't know. But women coming out and openly accusing TMC leaders and TMC cadres of misbehaving, molesting, assaulting them, and so on. Now, if you remember in the last assembly election, what really tipped the scales in favor of Mamata was the women, votes of women.
Yeah.
Especially after Mr. Modi went and,
Didi, oh Didi.
Yeah, exactly. Didi, oh Didi. I mean, that was one of the things that tipped the scales for Mamata. It was not the only thing, but one of the things. Then you also have charges of corruption, about grassroots kind of institution building by this Trinamool Congress, just as the CPM had done. And those are basically instruments to feather their nests, instead of really working for the people. I mean, here was an opportunity for Mamata to deliver whatever she had promised, her various schemes and so on. So, and this is a Lok Sabha election, so people will probably look at the bigger picture in Bengal. So Bengal, at least I do expect a keen contest. I'm not saying it's disadvantage Mamata and advantage BJP, but BJP is making an all-out effort. I mean, that is what struck me, after their rout in the last assembly election, BJP didn't really
doubled
waste
down their
time.
effort.
Yeah, they've doubled down, so one has to see whether that pays them or not. Of course, there is also a view that the BJP still hasn't understood Bengal properly in terms of, symbols and things that Bengalis relate to. I mean, this Ram, for instance, doesn't supposedly work in Bengal, and people wonder why the BJP goes on and on about Ram.
Yeah, that doesn't work there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you make of it, Anand? This entire battle over Sheikh Shahjahan. Why is it so important to both parties politically?
Means one is that BJP's campaign may make misgovernance a big point, and this case fits into that. So like also the communal polarization can also work, like the appeasement charge, that him being from a particular community is being shielded by the party, so the appeasement charge can be there. Also you see, when BJP comes into a new territory, now the timelines of BJP and the Sangh Parivar are different. For BJP being a political force, it has to look at an election within 5 years. But the Sangh Parivar, RSS and Hindu Mahasabha or whatever the other affiliates of the larger fold, for them the timeline is 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. So they have made their presence felt there, and they are working on says like Ram as a deity may not be very relevant there. There are other deities like Durga who are more important. But the Hindu identity consolidation, the larger project. Now for them, like 50 years, they can work on even 50 years timeline. So because they are an ideological force, and they have now the funding, they can expand their foot soldiers and this all that. So this is an important distinction people should make, that BJP works on a tighter timeline of 5 years, 10 years. The Sangh Parivar, even in the we won 15 seats, so what? So what? 15 seats, we have got a foothold. So
I think that's fundamentally different in the approach of both. But great, that's a fantastic discussion. Thank you so much, dear panel, and thank you so much, Radhika. Before we say goodbye, we'd like you to enrich our listeners with some recommendations of something they should read, watch, or listen to.
Okay, last time I had a book right on hand, the day I became a runner. So this time I haven't really come prepared, I must say. I haven't been reading very much.
Right.
Lately,
what are you watching?
What are you watching lately? Anything interesting?
No, I think Lapata Ladies is the one I'm looking at to watch.
Okay, I believe
intently.
So. It's
very
got some
intently.
good reviews.
It's a counterpoint against a dreadful movie like Animal. So that is the one I'm really
So did you watch Animal?
Walked out.
Oh, you did walk out. Okay,
couldn't take it.
Okay. But thank you so much. We hope when the election is underway, we'll host you in our office.
Yeah, I will come to your office next time.
So that would be fantastic, and we can have a more detailed discussion on when all the lists are out. That should be interesting.
Yeah. Thank you, Abhinandan.
Thanks, Radhika.
Thank you, Raman.
Thank you.
All right, on that note, let's get on the emails. We only entertain the emails of subscribers. You can write to us at podcasts@newslaundry.com. I repeat, podcasts@newslaundry.com. Or you can just click on the link in the show notes below. It'll open out a form, which is basically your feedback for our podcasts. It'll prompt you on what all you have to fill. There's a word limit, so I would request you to please stay within the word limit. And if you're not a subscriber, subscribe and then mail us. And we would like to know what you have to say. We welcome all sorts of inputs, critique, appreciation, feedback, suggestions, all of that. So let's start with Jeevan, who says, Johnny, this is blackmail. Okay, for those who didn't get that joke, Jeevan was a villain of the days of Jeevan, and this is fun.
Javed Jaffri's father.
And he was, whose father?
Javed Jaffri's father.
No,
that was Jagdeep.
Jagdeep.
Jeevan, I'm not sure whose father he was. But there was one famous dialogue of his. I think his son is standing on the roof and says, I'll jump off if you don't get me something. Says, Johnny, this is blackmail.
He was a villainous.
He's villainous
figure.
Some kind of audio memes of Jeevan from Mother India also.
Oh, really? So Jeevan says, sorry Jeevan, we just went on after your name. I'm sure you're a very nice guy and not villainous at all. I'm intrigued by the trend in Bollywood over the past decade, where a significant majority of big screen releases, including films like Pathan, Tiger 3, Fighter, and Article 30, 370, along with forthcoming ones like Yodha, heavily feature themes of hyper-nationalism, patriotism, or religion. It seems the industry is moving away from authentic storytelling. I'm curious about Raman sir's or any panel members' view on whether Bollywood will continue to serve as a political tool, especially with election-oriented releases like the Yatra movie in Andhra Pradesh. Lastly, I wonder if there's been any analysis to the political inclinations and expectations of 18 to 28 age group regarding the 2029 elections. Are they being exposed to a diverse range of political ideologies, or is there a predominant lean towards right-wing politics? So I have something to share on the Bollywood bit, but on the others, I don't know where the 1820 gets its news from. Do any of you have any bits? You interact with a lot of young people. Anand, are they being exposed to a variety of political viewpoints and information, or is it just legacy media? So it's all just right wing nuttiness.
Anand must be interacting with students who have been studying Hindu and Express, right?
Yes, but my classmates.
Oh yeah, classmates, yes.
Yeah. So I mean, where do they get their? I'm not sure they watch TV actually.
No, TV viewership has gone down, not because of these reasons, because of the changing nature of the digital interface, and also people who are very committed to reading in print, they read newspapers. So that is one. No, also when we say media, it's a very comprehensive term. So the kind of media he is referring to, that's a part of it. But media in India is very diverse. Means
also language, no?
Yes, so many. So
it's very difficult to
say a very generalized statement about being made about Indian media is a very risky proposition because you can always be countered by say here is this, here is that.
I mean, that's kind of true in most generalizations, but I think in our case, language is one major factor of her. But generally, the impact of legacy media, I guess people, at least our viewers, are about English and Hindi, which is pretty homogeneous. There are not significant outliers there other than maybe one Hindu newspaper or something. But, coming to the hyper-nationalism, it's basically engineered. Jerry Shin had written 2 pieces for the Washington Post. The links will be in the show notes below. It's a part of a larger plan or a strategy of the ruling dispensation of having a particular kind of film. I mean, it is very unlikely you'll see an Amar Akbar Anthony type of film right now. It will be more what you're seeing. Then Udalak Aruni says, I'm surprised that in Hafta 473 and 474, there was a complete disregard for 20th century history as panelists discussed collectivization of agriculture and price control as if they are novel concepts. USSR, China and even African nations have implemented these policies, leading to disaster, famine and poverty. Almost like politicians in Bihar and elsewhere advocating for liquor bans seem oblivious to past failures. The US prohibition era in the 1920s resulted in the growth of mafia and black markets, like consequences seen in Bihar. Moreover, the discussion overlooks the lack of innovation in agriculture, particularly in India to some extent, even in Europe. Uncertainty in any industry can only be reduced by technology, fintech, contract farming, futures trading, biotech, GMOs and advanced irrigation, automation, etc. Government controls hamper these innovations, not markets. Can you imagine NL without market funding and with price controls? It would be Prasar Bharati. So, Udalak, 2 things. I mean, maybe we've read different things. The example you give of USSR and China are very extreme examples. I mean, you're giving a commune system, which is very different from cooperatives. In fact, cooperatives have worked. In fact, Maharashtra has agricultural cooperatives. Secondly, I think it was made very clear that agriculture is unlike any other business because from input to output, the uncertainties are spread out and are dramatic and they're beyond anyone's control. And at least in my reading and, maybe next I'll make a note of it. I'll give links next time. The disasters caused because of contract farming and futures trading to small farmers, at least from what I have read, have destroyed farming communities. So I'm not sure where Because I know for a fact in Mexico, when when US and the Washington consensus pushed contract farming, how it completely wiped out farmers because these potato chip or corn type, they would, ask them to grow something, and then they were the only ones who were there to buy. And the negotiating was completely not unequal. You have big MNCs and you have small farmers. So I have read back then, I don't know which book it was, around the time I read Bhagwati, and there were all these pro-market and anti-market books. So everything is not the same. Like you're saying, can you NL without market funding? Of course, because we are criticizing the government. But so in which case, are you saying that we should also privatize or let the market decide water? That is one of the main things, or justice, or access to clean air. Of course, it's always a balance. It's not like market will decide or government will decide. But I, from what I know, I would never leave agriculture to the market. No chance. It'll have to be heavily regulated.
Even we are not fully market-driven society. The government has decided to control the price of petrol, so they are doing so. They have been controlling the price through GST. If you minutely look at the trends, the way the GST increases and the way GST comes down. So we are not fully market-driven society.
Yeah, and if you want to give the example of NL, well, we pay 18% GST. Print doesn't. Is that fair? I don't think it's fair. But, should nobody pay GST because of that? Or should everybody pay the same GST? I think it's the discussion is a little more nuanced.
We are small shark and the prints are the
big ones. Then Shrikant says, "Hi NL team, thank you for the fantastic work. Love reading, listening and watching NL Hafta. Nuisance daily reports. I feel better informed with all the daily reports. It looks like you have unlocked an achievement, which is a DDoS attack. Someone definitely is upset with you and are spending money to DDoS you and you 24/7. It's probably an institution with deep pockets. Hats off to Chitranshu and team on mitigating it. The attack might have put a financial burden on you by the web hosting company. I hope the hosting company didn't charge you for the malicious traffic. Thank you, Manisha, for documenting the degradation of media over the years through nuisance. I'm sure we will in future look back and see how the TV media failed a nation. Keep up the phenomenal work." Thank you so much, Shrikant. Appreciate it. I shall communicate your appreciation of Chitranshu's work. And no, all the people, our partners working with us have been fairly decent and reasonable at this time. Then Anonymous said, there was a suicide in Kerala college of a boy who was allegedly tortured by SFI goons and being kept naked and hungry for 3 days. I don't know, I'll have to check this, Anonymous, but I'm assuming you're giving accurate information. The Malayalam media ran several stories, yet same was not even mentioned, let alone discussed in Hafta. Is it because of bias? Doesn't the horrible thing happening in Kerala TN important for your team? Can you let the listeners know how many wrongdoings of governments in Kerala and TN has your South reporter or even your collaborator News Minute reported on Hafta? And then you say you are independent, unbiased. Non-BJP parties get such kid gloves treatment. So Anonymous, we have never said we're unbiased. In fact, we have very clearly said that unbiased as a concept in news is people who don't know the meaning of the word toss it around. Secondly, assuming what you're saying is true, there was a horrific rape of that Spanish in Jharkhand. We haven't discussed that either. We don't have reporters in the South. I'll check with the News Minute. So generally, I'm telling you in life advice, you should come to a conversation from a position of curiosity, not just venting. Because it's very easy to completely destroy someone who's venting because it isn't thought through. There have been not one, but about a dozen horrific rapes that I have seen in the last 1 week. Not one of them has been discussed right now here. Sometimes they're discussed when there is it becomes a political event, it becomes a movement, it becomes like the Delhi one happened. So everything is not, don't be on a social media hair trigger, bro. It's just not good for your brain, for your emotional state, and for your general level of understanding the world around you. Bruised Wayne says, Bruised Wayne, nice name, Bruised Wayne. Sudipto bhai, please do video interview series. Ben Stokes, maja aega dekhne. Yes, I agree. Hopefully in another month or two, we will have Sudipto doing a video show. Then Jaya says, 163 words, Jaya, that's way too long. So Jaya, this is breach of the word count. But anyway, what you said is regarding the discussion in Hafta 474 in the News Minutes colleagues' contribution, the whole issue was a complete farce. Positions are made by J and A. What's J and A?
Jayashree.
Jayashree and Abhinandan. And it was clear Mr. Mandal had a different position, but he kept arguing about what happened when the Congress was in power and would not just let it go. Mr. Rathi's video spoke about many reasons, asking the question, is India heading to a dictatorship? Whereas both Mr. Mandal, not the newsman at Mr. Mandal, but the one who had written the print, Dilip Mandal, in his letter and subsequent videos stressed more about what Congress did and that the present government is doing less of it. Is that even an argument? I cannot understand why the discussion was not cut short by Abhinandan. We have heard dissent in Hafta and I enjoyed listening to different opinions, but this was a bit too much. The redemption was the clip on Buddha at the end and the relief that I did not need to hear Mr. Mandal anymore. Alright, she'll communicate that. Then Anuni Anonymous writes, that's Anuni, first name, Anonymous, second name. I had to binge here some haftas due to an issue with my subscription, and a few weeks ago, when some of you were sick, there was a casual discussion on antibiotics with amoxicillin thrown in for good measure. I'd like each one of you, including any panel members, to answer this question. What is antibiotics and antibiotic resistance? Please wait for responses. Do you know what is antibiotics resistance?
Means when they stop reacting to you, the antibiotic.
Yeah, basically, when you stop. Do you know what is antibiotic resistance?
I know, but as a layman, maybe
what is it? This person asked.
Means in India, it is said that antibiotics have been prescribed too much and people have taken too much, so they have developed a kind of resistance to it. So,
and what is an antibiotic?
No, means
I think what I understand of antibiotic is anything that is biotic, it is anti that.
No.
Like what I mean is that it kills bacteria. Anything that kills bacteria, which is why when you take antibiotics and you get gas, they give you probiotic, no? So that good bacteria gets formed. So my understanding of antibiotic is anything that kills bacteria or virus is an antibiotic. And antibiotic resistance is when it doesn't work on you.
An antibiotic is stronger medicine than the normal one.
So then
it really affects you.
Anonymous says, now please evaluate how many of you said this. Antibiotics are drugs that are consumed to treat infections caused by bacteria and does not work in case of viral infections such as flu, common cold and such. Antibiotic resistance is resistance of infection causing bacteria against the antibiotic being consumed and is exacerbated by irregular or liberal consumption of antibiotics when not required, such as during viral infection or as comfort food, and through failure to adhere to antibiotic dosage plan. There is very little awareness about this in India. Thank you, Anoni Anonymous. Then Dr. Skeptic says, Dear Abhinandan, your LT on Israel-Palestine issue was very disappointing. There was no clarity on the chronology of events. Second, you were discussing the October attack. The next, you were discussing Arab-Israel war. Please compare this to the Empire podcast, which gives us a step-by-step context of what happened. My biggest criticism is extremely biased panel, with the exception of Stanley Johnny, who truly gets the subject but is still slightly sympathetic to the Palestinian cause. The Israeli journalist has been sympathetic to Palestinians all his life. Indian ambassador could not give specifics about how Arab-Israeli citizens are second class. Not factual. Why could you not find a single person who represented the Israeli state, Jewish nationalist side? None of the views expressed by a panelist were challenged by people sympathetic to Israel. I assure you there's a whole other side to the story which you LTA missed. So, Dr. Skeptic, first of all, thank you for listening to it. I definitely think, I haven't heard it myself, but I know this podcast that you're talking about, which is Empire, which is a part of And the Rest is History, which is, in my view, the best podcast I've heard. And this Empire comes out from that same family of podcast producers. So we are nowhere close to that level because we don't even spend that much time, energy, effort, resources and money on our podcast. But we selected our panels based on what we thought had a rational view. It wasn't the pro-Palestinian view and the pro-Israeli view. I mean, if you're saying an Israeli journalist who writes for one of the most, well-read and respected newspapers in Israel is a pro-Palestinian voice and therefore is not credible, then I'm not sure. I mean, we had a long discussion who we should have. Because if you remember earlier, I had said that we'll have this as a LTA with just subscribers. Because a lot of subscribers had written in on this. We got most mails on the Israel-Palestine conflict. Then some subscribers said that rather than get subscribers only to payload their gyan, get some academics, experts in the subject and talk about that. At least we'll be informed rather than just subscribers arguing with each other. So we selected panelists who we think have a lot of experience and work from those areas. And in my view, the journalist you're talking about, he's reported that from there for over 4 decades. I'd rather have him there than someone who's a pro-Israel voice sitting here, So, yeah, that's my view. But yeah, we could have had more voices, but then it would carry on. Then Rohit Mehrotra says, Sudipto has got to do video podcasts interviewing people because the way he makes his arguments, points is subtle and grounded in logic. The way he speaks is calming yet probing. He looks dashing. And then Commander Shepard has a 581-word email, which Commander Shepard we shall save for next time because we have a lot of emails this time. And you have not just...
You can add 100 words to it and it will be an article.
You heard him.
So you write 681 words.
That Saurabh says, can you please ask your video editors to add the name of the soundtracks that are being used in videos or podcasts? It's real pain to search for them via Google or Shazam. Also, what's the soundtrack used in teaser of Israel-Palestine and during Abhinandan's epilogue in Israel-Palestine? We shall mail you with this information. Aryan here is sitting, our producer, and he shall email you this information, Saurav. Then Sudip Roy says, this is a short follow-up mail to my last week's letter. Sudip, your email is 230 words. It's not a short follow-up. This is on farmers' agitation. Basically, what you're saying is Devendra Sharma's statement that average income from farming in India is 27 per day. Abhinandan quoted situation assessment of survey. You've said as per that survey, it should be 341 per day because it's 10 to 18 a month. So it cannot be 20. And it's also 5 years old. That doesn't tell us anything about income disparity among different agriculture. But that is not what the data is claiming to say, Sudip. That data is only talking. And if you just just Google this 27 per day and situation assessment survey of farmer households, you'll come across enough experts and professors who have quoted this. I'll check with Devendra how he comes to 27 a day because by your calculation, 10 to 18 divided by 30 it should be. I don't know whether the household income is what they're talking about or per person. We can figure that out. But there is enough out there about this data is the most comprehensive farming data available in our country. Now, if it's not good enough for you, fair enough. But there is nothing more comprehensive than this right now. And until there is, they'll have to go with this. The same logic by, you think per capita income is or forget that. You think our HNIs, the official number of HNIs that we have, you think it's credible? The amount of black money being stored. But that's the only data we have. So even we cite that data.
True.
So, skepticism is fantastic. Great. Thank you so much for your inputs and your participation and discussion. I will check how the mathematics, when you say it should be 341 and not 27. I'll check, but I'm pretty certain I saw a professor from JNU who had deconstructed this data, and that person had actually come up with 27, and that has, been quoted not just by people like Devendra, but by very credible academics as well. Then Jabin says, 234 words. I'm addicted to both Hafta and Charcha, and this feels like I'm writing to friends. I'm very sorry about the length of this letter, but it's hard to be angry in short. Oh, you're angry. While I completely support Sudipto's view that Dalits have been oppressed under every ruler, I disagree when he says Modi and Indira are the same. I was 5 years old when the emergency was declared and grew up during the height of the Indira years. All my life I've seen a robust culture of dissent and protests. As a Muslim, I saw hints of discrimination, but none of my family could have ever imagined the naked hate that we face now. Activists, students, ordinary folk at work, everyone around me is despondent and fearful. I'm very sure that any child raised in this Modi Raj will have a very different life from mine. It's far from being the same thing. If only you look beyond one's own narrow identity politics. This is exactly like Sanders supporters in the US who enabled Trump's rise by refusing to vote for Hillary Clinton, declaring that they were both the same. On another topic, I wonder where exactly the Ambanis quote-unquote rescued those elephants from. Since Gujarat isn't an elephant habitat, the animals must have been captured and transported from quite far. How is that legal or good in any way, Jabin? Jabin, I think this whole elephant indulgence of theirs, I think enough questions can be asked, but that's a very long report. But yeah, I think they have 600 elephants. It's a good question that how did they find 600 injured elephants and get 600 elephants there? But yeah, I mean, I don't know.
No, in many cases, the environmentalists, they had protested when elephants were moved out of northeast They had gone to the court, so there was a long fight.
Achha, they got elephants from Northeast.
There was a long fight over it, and then the court, after instituting a committee, they saw everything, and it was the court which instructed that these elephants be sent.
Can be I see. So yeah, but thank you for your subscription. Thank you all for your feedback, for your inputs. Do keep them coming. Podcasts at newslaundry.com, but please keep them below 150 words so we can include a lot more. So we can have more discussion and lesser time just talking about whether we were right or wrong. We want that as an important part of the Hafta, but the discussions become shorter and shorter when the mails become longer and longer. On that note, let's get the recommendations for the week. Raman sir, what would you recommend?
I would recommend our paywall story, Inside Northeast India's Biggest Media Empire, Himanta Biswa Sharma's journey. So Pratyush, our colleague, has done one good story, about the CM and his wife, how they have acquired the media, audio, visual as well as print over a period of time, and how they are projecting the CM, and this media has got a very good hold over the local population. So good story, please do read. And second recommendation is, I think Manisha had once recommended it, and I saw it last week. Managed to finish it. Succession is again. If you are working for the corporate world, or you are in media, so the agony and ecstasy of the corporate world is beautifully made, very, very well made. So I saw the season 4. So it has already got 4 seasons. It's a very well made TV serial, Succession, which is available on Jio Cinema.
Anand?
Oh, okay. So we discussed today the cases about the immunity of parliamentarians. So to the publicly available cases, the case which gave rise to it, 98, PV Narasimha Rao versus the state. So it will be available on a number of sites, law sites. So that is important to juxtapose against the current ruling and see how privileges are defined in legislative working, particularly under section 194.2 and 105.2, 105.2 for parliament and 194.2 for the state legislature. Second is a novel by a writer that generally I like his writings, Upmanyu Chatterjee, and his latest book, it may sound a bit bland and philosophical in nature, but it is not. It is Lorenzo Searches for the Meaningful of Life. So it's about an Italian whose life goes into a reverse gear. He's 20-something and gets keen to search for meaning of life, and later deals with the banalities of life and responsibilities. So a number of themes which show how banal spirituality can also get. So that is what it is. Also, it is different from his usual writings. So he has explored new themes. So these are only my 2 recommendations this week.
So I have one recommendation, which is it's a BBC podcast called The Global Story. The episode on Manchester City, that how Manchester City's business model is transforming football. That's an interesting podcast because, Manchester City has been a lot of criticism and some attacks, and I think they've also been fined. And what they are doing, they're not the first ones to do. Other clubs have also done this whole multi-club ownership and how one club feeds into the other. But it's been explained pretty comprehensively, and now with there being so much money being thrown in from the Gulf, etc. I mean, it's interesting to see how anything, including the beautiful game, can get completely corrupted by money. But yet, which is why regulation is an important aspect of any structure. You can't just have no regulation, because that just skews any market, any world, any contest. But yeah, it's a good episode. On that note, I'd like to thank our sound recordist Anil and our producer Aryan. We shall be back next week, where hopefully everyone will be in town at the same time after a long time. And we will bring you Hafta in a full force.